Let's go! Batter up! We're taking the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day for a ball game, today. The fans are out to get a ticket or two. From Walla Washington to Kalamazoo. It's a beautiful day for a home run, but even a triple's okay. We're gonna cheer and boo and raise a hullabaloo at the ball game today.
Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Friday, September 12th. It's finally a Friday. I was just thinking about that. That is a phrase. Some of you in the LA area might remember that. Some of the radio stations growing up that played what is now called classic rock, which was in my day just regular rock and roll, stations like KMET 94.7, 95.5 KLOS, 95.5 KLOS, I think it's now. And then there was K-West, which was 106. All played amazing music. But one of those stations, maybe it was all of them, maybe it was a couple of them, they always tended to say on Friday, it's finally a Friday. And I think it's taken me all this time to realize it is finally a Friday, and it's great to be here. I haven't been on YouTube that much lately, actually. It's been 3 weeks since I made a video. I think that's the longest I've been without a video, and I honestly told myself in the past few days, just make a video, say hi to everybody, because I feel like I haven't gotten to talk to you guys in a while. And one of the things, for me at least, that I'm a collector. I'm always collecting. I might not always be buying, but I'm always looking. And I have been doing that. Even though I'm not on YouTube or paying attention to many YouTube videos, I am always in a collecting mode. So that's something that will never go away for me, whether I'm buying cards or not buying cards. So I have been staring at a lot of cards lately. But last time I left you, I had just come home from the West Coast Card Show, and it's been 3 weeks, like I mentioned. And to kind of reiterate the point about how I'm always collecting and sometimes I don't buy, Labor Day weekend is an excellent point. So it was the week after the West Coast Show. I have Friday and Monday off. I think we all did. So Friday I just took the day off. And Saturday I woke up because I had a free ticket to the Front Row Card Show in San Diego. San Diego, it could take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there. Unfortunately, with the Labor Day traffic, it took 3 hours. And I was going to make a video of that a couple of weeks ago and give a full review, but just never got around to it. So I'll give a brief review for those of you who are in Orange County, LA, obviously San Diego County, or if you're coming inland from like Imperial County. It was an interesting show. As we all know, a lot of Pokemon, but there were 7 to 10 very good vintage tables. I bought a handful of cards, nothing out of the ordinarily spectacular, but it was nice to see. I don't know about you, but I don't have to buy to have fun at a card show. I really enjoy looking at cards. If there's a card that I would like to buy down the road, say like a 1954 Topps Henry Aaron card, yeah, I like to look at it and see the price and realize, can I afford this, and or by saving up some money down the road. And by doing that, it helps me realize, okay, well, I could probably afford, just by doing a little bit of research, I can afford to buy a 1954 Topps Henry Aaron or a 1955 Topps Roberto Clemente, like in a 2. Anything above a 2 is going to cost a pretty penny. So I like doing research on that. I also like to see if cards that potentially I might be looking for down the road, like some Brooklyn Superba Cracker Jack cards. And I was still working on the 61 set as I went into the show. So I went down there. I got to hang out with George the afternoon. Diamond Yard Sports Cards, always wonderful to see him. And it was a beautiful day in San Diego. It was effing hot in that room for a while. The show is a good show. Not a great show, but I from what I'm hearing, that is the only show in San Diego. So it's a, if you're looking for vintage, it's a good time. It's a good way to spend an afternoon. And I probably will make that part of my tour. Maybe go down there once a year, just because it's a pretty area and it's close to LA. So then I came home Friday night. Luckily, traffic was easy, so I came home in a little over an hour. And then Saturday, I woke up and I decided to go to the Burbank card store. And mind you, this shows you I made no plans this weekend. You guys. I was just kind of in a, let's just hang out and see what happens. So I woke up Saturday, drove up to Burbank, got to check out. It's the second time I've checked out the new store. And by the way, these guys, Burbank Sports Cards does not sponsor this show. This is the second time I've gone there to the new store. The new store, you guys, for those of you in LA, Orange County, Ventura, Southern California, if you're thinking of visiting Los Angeles, that store is really, really good, you guys. Set builders, there's a lot of commons. There's a lot of star cards, a lot of ungraded cards. There's pre-war for my pre-war friends, T206 cards. Tons of graded cards. But I will say, when I say tons of graded cards, I'm talking about all sports cards. I do, at least on the day I went, I wish the vintage had been a little stronger, but baseball seemed to be lacking compared to football and basketball. But still, there are so many graded cards. There are so many dollar boxes, 25-cent boxes, vintage boxes, oddball boxes, and other sports that I know nothing about, like auto racing and golf. A lot of wax, a lot of supplies, a lot of binders. My other complaint is, and I say this every time I go there, with all the supplies they have, they do not carry 8 pocket sheets for you guys that are building 50s sets. But it's a great store, and I hung out there for a couple of hours. Again, bought some cards, nothing spectacular, a lot of dollar cards from the 60s. But I wanted to check it out, and I was hoping to get some 1961s and struck out. But I still had a good time. So that was Saturday, came home with about, 10 cards? And then Sunday, no, that was Sunday. Wait a minute, that was Sunday. Sunday was Burbank. Monday, Labor Day, there was actually a card show. And it's a card show that I try to attend to. I don't know why I go to it, but it's actually a pretty good show. It's called the Newport Showcase in Newport Beach, California. I want to say it's on the campus of some private school. To be honest with you, I don't pay attention. I only can tell you I parked in a parking lot and I went to their school gymnasium. And that's where they have this little card show that's jam-packed. You feel like sardines. It's a good show, though. It's free admission, free parking. And it's one of those shows that I say, I'll last maybe 20 minutes to an hour. And again, I lasted 20 minutes to an hour. A lot of modern cards, a lot of Pokemon. But there was like 2 vintage tables. And I went up to both of them, and they're guys selling mostly ungraded, but they had some graded stuff. I actually found one of the cards that I needed for the 1961 set. And I'm going to show it to you guys in a bit. But yeah, I was stunned because I decided, let's just go to this show. Again, I had nothing going on. There were no barbecues, nothing fun like that. And I was like, let's just go to this card show. So I went for like an hour, picked up one card. And for me, a show, going to a show or going to your local card store is a success if you come home with one card. I don't care if it's a 50-cent card. It's still a success. You came home with a card. And So I came home with one card, and that was my weekend. That was like my sports card weekend, and I had a good time, and it was just a good time. But like I said, I haven't been doing much YouTubing just because you guys, it's just I haven't been making the time, and football started, and I went to the Ram game on Sunday where they beat the Houston Texans, and I know they're playing Tennessee this weekend. But like real life for me also is watching sports, and you guys know my mom comes over every other weekend. I have the weekend off this weekend, but I'll have her next weekend. I might hit up a show. There's a small show in Whittier this week on Saturday. Maybe I'll hit that. But I haven't been doing much YouTubing. I haven't been commenting much. Just haven't been around. But one thing I did listen to, and the other reason I'm not around as much is because my summer hours are over at the office. So now, as opposed to working from home 2 days a week, I work at the office 3 days a week. So I am listening to a lot of podcasts, and I'm trying to find podcasts or YouTube shows that don't have as much showing off of cards, because I want to listen to shows. And thankfully, I always listen to Dr. Beckett's podcast. And he just concluded a 3-part podcast. I think it's going to take, if you listen to it, it's going to take you roughly 45 minutes, 50 minutes to listen to. And he was interviewed by 2 gentlemen who wanted to interview him about card collecting in the 50s and in the 60s and partially in the 70s. And it was just wonderful to hear his stories. It was reminiscent somewhat of my childhood, how he discussed you would go, back then cards were released in a series. You would buy series 1, and then like all of a sudden everybody would start getting duplicates. But back then all the kids collected, and all of a sudden somebody would say, I went to the store yesterday, series 2's out, and everybody would run to the store, and they would do the same thing every 3 to 4 weeks. He talked about collecting. He talked about, I forgot, and I'd heard the story once, that his grandparents, Dr. Beckett's grandparents, as a Christmas present, gave him a shoebox of cards that were his dad's and his uncle's, filled with Goudies and play ball cards. And I just thought, oh my God, that's amazing. And I loved I loved that. I loved hearing about that. And he tended to gravitate towards those cards. And then he brought up one story that really resonated with me, and it might resonate with you. Back then, we all had cards. It seemed like every boy and some girls collected baseball cards. We'd bring them to school. We'd show them off. We'd play with them. And back then, and Dr. Beckett actually brought this up, if you took them out during class and the teacher saw you with them, Miss Sangren, my Miss Sangren, she would confiscate them. You wouldn't get them back. They were gone. And we remember, or I remember, she had a drawer full of cards. What she would do, and I don't have a card on me. Well, I have my kitty's card. So what she would do is she'd grab a card. She'd take your cards. She'd punch a hole with the hole puncher. And then she would put like 50 cards in a binder, like a binder ring. So I remember there was a 1969 Topps Willie McCovey. There was a 1967 Topps Orlando Cepeda. She had several, and when I mean several, I'm talking 7 to 10 rings of cards, 30 to 50s from the late 60s, early 70s, probably the time she was a teacher. From what I remember of her, she was a young woman when I was in the 4th grade. But Miss Sangren would confiscate her cards. And then she did have this big cardboard stand-up. She had like a baseball assignment that she would use. Name all, back then there was 24. Draw a map of the United States and list out the 24 Major League Baseball teams. And she would ask baseball questions as on this baseball cardboard thing of hers. But we never got the cards back. I don't know if that was illegal, but once you lost your cards, they were gone. But it just kind of resonated with me when Dr. Beckett brought that up, how we brought our cards to school. We'd show them off. We'd play with them. We'd trade. Sometimes we'd steal other kids' cards. Or in some cases, our teacher would confiscate them. What would be funny now thinking back was if it had been a male teacher and he had confiscated them and he had a massively huge collection of baseball cards. Not going to happen. All right, so what are we going to do today? Okay, I have finished my 1961 top set. So I'm only going to show you 3 cards because I'm trying to make this video in under 20 minutes. So I have got 3 cards I'm going to show you. 61 set is out of the way. Let's turn the camera around. You've heard enough of me today. Let's look at some baseball cards. So we're finally looking at some baseball cards. Now you're going to notice some cards up here from 1964 and 1966. It's just as a collector, it's just something I've always done over the years, especially if I'm buying cards on eBay from someone like Greg Morris. You know, let's just pretend, okay, in this case, I'm building the 1961 set and I find a card. And I win 1 card. I bid on 10 different cards and I only won 1 of them. So all of a sudden I've only bought 1 card, but I have 7 days to buy cards so I can combine shipping with Greg Morris. So I'm one of those. I go, I don't want to spend shipping on just 1 card. So what I've done, and I've been doing this over the years, recently, for some reason I chose to do this with 1964 and 1966. I'll actually go to 1964 and 1966 cards, and I will bid on 100 individual cards. I will bid $1, $1.25, sometimes $1.50. There's usually not star cards, but I will bid just to see what happens. Sometimes you win a couple of extra cards. Sometimes you win 10 cards. Sometimes you win 20 cards. But it justifies that I'm getting the shipping, or I'm combining shipping. So instead of getting 1 card for $6 that I needed for 1961 with a $5 shipping price tag, well, now I've got 20 cards that I paid like $1 a piece for, and it just makes the shipping worthwhile. So over the years, I have been doing this, and with 1964 and 1966 specifically, 1966, I now own 60% of the set. I have roughly 360 cards. I own roughly half the 1964 set. And yeah, I have some stars, not a lot, but I do have some stars. It doesn't mean that I'm building a set, but it could mean that maybe down the road, I've always talked about when I retire, I'd still like to be able to collect and maybe build some sets, and maybe these cards and maybe this will be a set in the future that I could build. One of the things I also have always said about my collection in particular is that my collection is also, I collect cards from when I was a kid, and there was nothing that excited me more as a kid. Yeah, when you saw 1957 Topps Duke Snider or 1958 Topps Willie Mays, you'd get excited. You go, oh my God, look at this card. But I also liked going to somebody's house and all of a sudden they had their dad's cards and he was sitting on a bunch of 1958 Topps Commons or 1961 Topps Commons or 1963 Topps Commons. It was just nice to get your hands on them and look at them. So that's also part of my collection. I might not be building a set, but I do have cards representative of all the years from the Topps. And I've made mentions in the past that when I was a kid, I would like to get all the cards from 1951 through 1980. That'll never happen, but it's fun just to have some of these extra cards and not spending an arm and a leg for them. All right, so I was down to 3 cards from 1961 when I left the West Coast Card Show. A few days later it was on eBay. I bought this card, which is 1960 Game 2, 1960 World Series. Mantle slams 2 home runs. I had been finding this card off and on. I think I finally found one for like $40. So that was card number 3 that I needed to finish. Mickey Mantle has like 5 cards in this set, by the way. So that was something I didn't plan for. Good looking Mantle card. All right, so I'm down to 2 cards and I go to the Newport Card Show. Whatever they call it, the Newport Showcase. And this seller had 2 cards that I needed for 1961, and he had a lot of other nice cards, all ungraded. But I'm really focused on 1961, So he had one card that I really wanted, and I saw this card. He had 3 Carl Yastrzemski cards, ranging in price from $50 to $80. I have been finding very nice versions for $80. I got him down to $65 on this one, and I just took it, and it was a great deal. That was all the money I had. I didn't bring much money, so I go, let's get the Yaz. So Carl Yastrzemski was the second to last card. Now, the last card that I needed, which I'm going to show you here in a second, is not a card I'm entirely fond of. In fact, this seller did have the card. My friend Levon also had the card. Several people I know have had the card, and I could have bought a PSA 4 for $140, but just didn't like the card. And I finally realized, you don't like the card. And in this case, it was this 1961 Topps Willie Mays, the last card I need to complete the set. Now, for me, let's be honest, it's not the best Willie Mays card. He's not smiling. He doesn't have a cap. Now, on the other hand, I should have brought this card out for reference, but since we're recording already, it's too late. I should have brought out the Ernie Banks card, because the Ernie Banks card also is capless. But he's smiling, and it makes a big difference in the card. So I realized I didn't want to spend that much money on this card, and I especially didn't want to spend it graded. I didn't want to buy a beater card, but I found this card from my old friends, the Batters Box, out of Humboldt, Texas. They claim it's good to VG. I think this is what makes it good to VG because of this. There's a little speck up there. But this made, I got this for $50. And that was enough for me. I just said, enough. Let's we get to a point where we work on sets. Let's finish this set. So that's what I did. So Willie Mays turned out to be the last card in the 1961 set for me to complete. So that set is done. That is my 19th vintage set. I don't know what's next, and that's going to be the subject of our next video. But if you stuck around this long, thanks so much for hanging out. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.
It's a beautiful day for a ball game.